Hello everybody, good morning, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news as Ruben Amorim agrees a deal with Sporting and Manchester United to become their new manager. We're expecting official announcement today from Manchester United. What's happened in the last couple of days? Well, obviously we had, here we go, with Amorim on Tuesday, but now where we are this morning is that there is full completion agreement with Sporting that Amorim will come to the club with his chosen assistants and coaches and he will be a Man United manager with them. The compensation has been sorted. The interesting kicker is that this will not happen for Chelsea. It will not happen for Paik. It will not even happen for Leicester. His first managerial job for Manchester United will be Ipswich. I think Sporting have ultimately got what they wanted here. I find it really strange. I've got to be honest. I find it really, really strange. But you've also got to admire how quickly Man United moved on this, but I do have... Look, I'm not going to not be honest. I did my match reaction this morning. I think certain players need to take a long, hard look at themselves. I see people talking about how great Casemiro was last week. Well, it wasn't Ten Hag making him miscontrol passes against Liverpool or, you know, booting free kicks crappily in the Coventry game last year or heading it back to Onana and conceding goals or not getting out from the back. I think some people need to have a long, hard look at themselves at this football club. And if we're not critical, we might want to look at where we are. This is why we fail. These standards need to go up in this football club. And when I look at the next few games, Chelsea, Leicester, I don't think there's any guarantee we're going to get 6 points just because Ruud's at the wheel. I watched the game yesterday and I think we're vulnerable. Just because we had a bit of a glow up against Leicester reserves, people think we're going to be fine until Ipswich. I think there's 3 points against Chelsea and there's 3 points against Leicester, and I would want the manager to be in place. I understand that Ineos can't do it, and I understand that they've done a quick deal, but I am still a little bit disappointed that we've got to, tread water for a couple of weeks, and then he'll come in and loads of players will be on international break. So, look, the journey for Amorim is not going to start till Ipswich. We've got a bit of a favourable run of fixtures for that, but there's not a lot we can do. I'm very, very happy that we've got the deal done, but there's not a lot we can do in getting it done quicker. Talking about getting things done quicker, just before we go into the rest of the show, because Ruud wants to stay. We've got some interesting stuff coming out from Ten Hag. We've also got some stuff around players, etc., and more on Amorim. But as you can see, we're sponsored by Manscaped on the show this morning. If you don't know what Manscaped is, trim the grass to make the yard look bigger with the lawnmower there. Absolutely fantastic bit of kit. You can get 20% off and free worldwide shipping. Yes, it's for down there. Yes, it's male grooming. Precision engineering for your family jewels. But it's not just that. They've got the beard trimmer, which I've actually used this morning. Fantastic, with 20 different lengths on that. They've got loads of other products as well. They've got stuff for your nasal hair. They've got stuff for clean shaves. They've got the lot, and it's delivered to your door with a massive 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code TUS20. Scan that QR code or go through the link in the description. Big shout out to Manscaped. Arthur says, crybaby. Mate, I've been doing this for 10 years. I genuinely do not care if you are happy, sad, or in the middle. I will always give you my honest opinion, and I absolutely saw people last night and this morning saying give Ruud the job full time. Pillocks. Absolute pillocks in my opinion, but you might think I'm a pillock. I don't care. I genuinely do not care. The whole point is I will give you my opinion and you will form your own. And that's absolutely fine by me. But look, I'm really happy about Amorim coming to Manchester United. I just wish he was here today to be managing us on Sunday. I think that's what Sir Jim Radcliffe wants. I think that's what Omar Barada wants. I think that's what Dan Ashworth wants. But I said this at the start of the process. Sporting Lisbon have had us by the balls and twisted it before. Remember when we bought Bruno? We thought we were getting Bruno in the first week of January. It took 3 weeks of negotiating. They're not a mug club. Anybody who thinks that we're going to get Gyökeres or Hulmland or Inacio or whoever or anybody else just because Amorim managed Sporting, they'll have our pants down easily. They're not stupid, Sporting Lisbon. They're not. They're a very well-run football club and they get what they want. And we won't just be swooping in there and getting their best players for cheap. We'll be paying massive fees like we did for Bruno and like we have done for Amorim. So, yeah, look, roll on Ipswich for me because I was I was really hoping that Amorim would be in quickly. What does it mean for Chelsea? Well, it means Ruud van Nistelrooy will be in charge. Ruud wants to stay. Ruud wants to stay at the club. He said last night, I want to stay in any way, shape or form. I mean, look, might be hard hitting for you again this Thursday morning. I don't really see why we would keep him. It's not a charity. It's Manchester United. I mean, if what's Amorim got to do with Ruud van Nistelrooy? Should we get Gary Neville a job as well? Or maybe Patrice Evra can come round as well? You know, why do we need ex-players? If Amorim doesn't, why should he have that forced upon him? I look at Man United and I'm like, I don't agree with sacking managers. We've sacked a manager on Monday, and we've gone and got another good manager. So that's the journey we're on. Last time I checked, we haven't been in a title race for 10 years. So don't start talking to me about, oh, it'll be nice if we give Ruud a job, or it'll be nice to keep Ruud. I mean, I don't give a shit if we keep Ruud or not, because what's that got to do with winning titles? I want Amorim to come in, sell who he wants, buy who he wants, and utilise who he wants. And if he sees Ruud van Nistelrooy and goes, I can use him, great. But if Ineos say we'd like you to use him, that's just that's not the way to be. And there's too much sentimentality around this football club. And we saw it again last night. There's people shouting out, "Oh, Ruud, yeah, maybe we should give Ruud the job. Maybe you should go and support the club he goes and manages next, because we're not giving Ruud the job. We've been there before. Where's your head been? Up your arse. Like, where have you been for the last 10 years? We're not giving Ruud van Nistelrooy the job. Absolutely not. Watch the game from last night and tell me that is in any way, shape or form a hint that we can win the bloody title with Ruud van Nistelrooy. It's Leicester reserves and it's players trying really hard because the manager's been sacked. Let's see how they do on Sunday against a decent Chelsea side, because that's the acid test. Now, if he wins that game, you put yourself in a bit of a difficult situation. And I hope Ruud can win that game. But yeah, we're in a bit of a halfway house now, to be honest with you. But as I say, you've got to applaud the speed in which Ineos have acted, and also the I'm trying to think of a good word here. The brilliance, the ruthlessness, the aggression, the scoop of taking Amorim out of Sporting, which not a lot of people thought we could do. So yeah, obviously I'm disappointed that he's not going to be in until Ipswich. Although I'm not surprised. I still think it's a very, very good deal. I just want that Ipswich game now, because I still think when you look at the Premier League table that Manchester United are in a really, really bad position at the moment, and we certainly I don't think the season's over, but we're 14th place with 11 points. Chelsea are 5th with 17 points. If we were to lose to Chelsea, we'd be 9 points off them, and I think it's good night Vienna. So that Chelsea game's really important on Sunday. Now we're trusting it to Ruud van Nistelrooy, which is the situation that we're in. I don't think there's any guarantee that we're going. I heard people last night saying, "Well, we'll beat Chelsea and Leicester with Ruud, and then Amorim comes in." I mean, that's great. That's absolutely great. I love that. But why are we beating Leicester in the Premier League when that wasn't the team that they'll pick last night? So I don't even think Leicester's guaranteed, let alone Chelsea. So I think we could be in for a bit of a rude awakening on over the next couple of Premier League games, because I think people think we're just going to batter everybody 5-2, and then Amorim's going to come in, and then we're going to win the next 10 as well, and then we'll be in a title race by late January. And I actually am not thinking that at all. The players, to me, are still massively imbalanced and unreliable, and I don't expect the glow up from last night to last longer than a couple of months. So I think that capitalising on this manager bounce that we have at the moment is really important, and that's why we've got to beat Chelsea and Leicester in the next 2 games. But I think the chances of doing that have diminished a little bit now that we're not going to get Amorim. But there's nothing we can do. You know, I'm not angry with Ineos. I'm not angry with Ruud. I'm not angry with Amorim. I'm not angry with Sporting. The situation is that we're paying good. I mean, we're giving them 10 million and we're not getting him for 2 weeks. I mean, that is incredible, isn't it? I mean, that's how good Sporting are at getting what they want. We're getting the backroom staff, we're getting Amorim, we're giving him 10 million, and we still won't have him for about three weeks. So they've got a good deal out of this. We've got a good deal. If we've got the right guy, we've got a very good deal. But I still find it really strange. I mean, if you think about what's going to happen over the next week, we're going to play Chelsea, Paik and Leicester with Ruud van Nistelrooy, and Sporting are going to play Friday night, Man City in the Champions League and Braga with a manager that they know is going to leave. I mean, apparently from Portugal, half the squad aren't very happy with Amorim because he said in the summer that he wanted loyalty from players that were looking to go because they were trying to build something. And then 3 months later, he's leaving. Apparently, some people in the dressing room understand it because, like, it's Manchester United. So I think it's really interesting how Sporting obviously want a bit of time to get their replacement in, and it's big games for them, but I can't think of a situation where a manager is leaving and the players and the club and the fans aren't necessarily happy about it, but let's have a farewell tour for 3 weeks, for 3 games. I don't think it necessarily helps Sporting, but look, it might do. Maybe Sporting fans are happy with that. Maybe Sporting players are happy with that. Maybe their president's happy with that. But it is a little bit weird because he's not like he's going at the end of the season. He's going in the middle of the season, not even in the middle of the season, and they're not necessarily happy about it. It's the release clause that's been met. So Caden says, can you call my dad Arthur a Pratt for his birthday? Anyway, can I just confirm, some people tuning a little bit late, Manchester United have agreed a deal with Sporting. It's expected to be officially announced yesterday. It's today. It's officially going to get announced today. We've agreed the financials. We are bringing in the coaching team and obviously Amorim, but it's not going to happen until after the international break. So his first game will be Ipswich away, which, funnily enough, was Arne Slot's first game. If you want a little bit of Premier League nostalgia, I suppose. But I suppose another interesting thing I was thinking about as well is if we announce it officially today, it's a bit like a Lindelof. Now, what a Lindelof is, if people don't remember, a Lindelof is when you do a deal, but the player's not there. So you announce a deal pending the medical or whatever because they're on tour or whatever. So we're going to do a bit of a Lindelof with Amorim because I think we're going to announce it, but we're not going to get all the press conference and everything like that because he's not going to be here. He's going to be at Sporting. So it's going to be in a bit of a Lindelof deal where he's going to be our new manager and we'll speak to him in a couple of weeks' time. Because, I presume that will happen. I can't imagine a situation where Sporting have let him do an interview for Man United, yet he's going to manage Sporting for a few weeks. So, yeah, I think that's what will happen today. We'll get the official, he's going to be our manager in a couple of weeks. I think from a Man United communications point of view, they're probably quite happy about this because it means the international break, they can just focus on Amorim and doing his first interview in the international break, of course, which will be nice. Overarchingly, my favourite word of 2024, I'm very happy. I'm very, very happy. But I'm just a little bit nervous about what last night was and what Sunday will be because I think Chelsea are a better team than us, and I think Leicester reserves is very hard to judge and very easy to overhype. And I think 3 points on Sunday is so important for Amorim's future. But look, if Ruud van Nistelrooy wants to stay, the chances of him staying will be more enhanced if he can win games like this. I think they agreed to wait a couple of weeks so Sporting can sort out their manager, says JR, out of respect and relationship between the clubs. And I completely agree with that. I am not in any way, shape or form slagging off Sporting. I think they've proven in the past, especially with us, that they are hard bargain drivers. It's not Amorim's fault and it's not Ineos's fault. At the end of the day, they sacked Ten Hag on Monday and we've got a new manager in place on Thursday. We're just not going to get him for a couple of weeks. But that doesn't mean I can't be frustrated that he's not here now for the Chelsea game and the Leicester game, because if we drop points in them games, it's just like, I think it would have been... I definitely think we would have beaten Chelsea and Leicester with Amorim. The challenge now, the mini challenge, while we're treading water, is can Ruud do it? And that just makes me a little bit nervous. But we can't do anything about it. I'm not like ranting and raving and moaning and anything like that. I'm just frustrated. But like, life can be frustrating, which it's just not going the way I would have wanted it to go. But hopefully we can scrap through. Chris says it was only Barnsley, Leicester. Look, I've done my match reaction for Leicester. I will talk about Casemiro because I think he represents my big issue with last night. But yeah, well, it wasn't only Leicester last night, was it? It wasn't only Leicester reserves, but it was only Barnsley and Southampton. It's funny how things can work. We should be glad it's not Southgate or Potter, says Florian. I mean, the big thing for me, and I don't know what you think, the big thing for me is that I'm just so happy we knew we were getting Amorim before last night, because the amount of people that would have been winding me up this morning going, I think we should give it to Ruud. You know, we've got no one else lined up. I think we should give it to Ruud. Give him a 3-year deal. I mean, thank God we've got Amorim in, and Rio Ferdinand can't put out a stupid fucking meme. So I'm really happy that we knew the manager before last night, because human nature, as I said, would be... And look, I'm no professor of predictability, but I said to you days before last night, I said to you the minute Ten Hag gets sacked, we'll smash Leicester. I mean, I hate, the thing about life is it's not great to be right, because if you're right, life can be quite predictable. It was so predictable we were going to smash Leicester last night, and it would have been so predictable that if we hadn't had a manager lined up, people would want Ruud. So, all right, we smashed Leicester. That was predictable, but at least we know Amorim's coming in, so people can't start going, give Ruud the job. And I tell you what, it might not even be United fans. It'll be the evil mainstream media. They would love Ruud to get the job. They were so desperate for Ollie to get the job. They would have driven that bus full pelt 24/7 around Old Trafford. Give Ruud van Nistelrooy the job, because the media love that. Ex-player, drama, love that. And the ex-players on telly would love it as well, because they probably got him on WhatsApp. So I'm really pleased that Amorim is the guy that Ineos want, even though we've got to wait a couple of weeks, because we don't have to put up with the clamour to go for another Ollie that will please the media and please our ex-players. Good question here. Do you want Ruud van Nistelrooy to stay at Manchester United? Sentimentally, yes. Objectively, no. I think that's a fair answer. Sentimentality, you can't say that, when you look at him last night celebrating, that you don't want him to stay. But then reality kicks in, and I'm like, if that was Nicky Butt, if that was Paul Scholes, if that was Roy Keane, it's a legend managing the club and cheering with the Stretford end. Of course you want him to stay. But objectively, what's he got to do with Amorim in the way he wants to play football? If anything, he could get in the way. They've never worked together. You're putting two strangers together. So I don't really care, actually. I think the best way of putting it is, sentimentally, I would like Ruud to stay because I like him. But if Amorim doesn't want him, I ain't bothered. I think that it's not up to me. It shouldn't be up to Ineos. It should be up to Amorim. But I think that I don't really logically see why he needs to stay. But if Amorim's happy to keep him, we're back in this manager, aren't we? Fairway 5 says, might work well. We might get a 2-manager bounce. Just as Ruud ends up, we get a second dose with Amorim. Yeah, I mean, you might be right there, Fairway 5, because I was looking at the next few games. So look, basically, this is our fixtures coming up. We've got Chelsea on Sunday. Then we've got Paik on Thursday, and then we've got Leicester on the Sunday. So they're all Ruud games, and they're all at home. The big games for me there are to win. We'll beat Paik. That'll be another 6-0. That'll be another new manager bounce bullshit, 6-2 or something like that. It's the Chelsea and Leicester game. We need 6 points. Like, only 6 points will do. We need 6 points. None of this, it's a good draw. We need 6 points from that. Like, we have to get 6 points. Then you've got Amorim coming in for Ipswich away. Difficult first away game, but you would hope, loads of hype, we can win that one. Then it's Bodo Glimt. That's a Star Wars character, innit? Then we've got Everton at home. You'd expect to beat them. Arsenal away, tough. But then it's Forest at home. Could be tough, but you'd expect to win. Victoria Pleasant at home, away, and then Man City away, then Spurs away. So, I mean, to be honest, his first 6 games, he's got City away, Arsenal away, and Spurs away in the Cup. So, yeah, it's not... Look, I'd rather he was in now, but it is what it is. Anyway, let me get into some of your comments. Hi, Solid. Welcome to the Members Club. You're an absolute legend. We have hit 960,000. You must have done that last night on the fantastic watch-along. We should be glad it's not Southgate or Potter. And Nick P says, Amorim's dropping a project mid-season is a bit of a concern. I just hope that it's just a sign of his ruthlessness rather than a lack of commitment. Mate, it's always all right when it says... When Anthony goes on strike to come to Man United, we love it. It's only when it doesn't work out that we might see the problems. But, it's only a 2.5-year deal. It's only a 2.5-year deal. Great point about commitment there. The deal's only 2.5 years. I was a bit... There's an option for a further year, but do you think that's a bit short? That's what she said. I think that's a little bit tough. I think that's a little bit short, actually. And the only reason I would say that is that why is it only 2.5 years? Like, I need to get my wording right here. When I saw 2.5 years, I hope I'm wrong, but it literally is the cycle. And it got me thinking, we're literally giving a contract which is the cycle. The cycle is 1 year good, second year okay, third year you're gone. So I was literally like, why is it only 2.5 years? I would like to be giving him 4 at least, because I think it's not a 2.5 year project. It's a longer project than that. And when you think about it, they've got to give him a new contract by the end of next season, because you can't send him into a last year. That doesn't work. You can't have a manager with a last year. So effectively, he's only got 1.5 years before they decide on another contract. Is 1.5 years? Look, some people might be saying, "Oh, you're being very melodramatic." I'm break it down. I'm breaking it down that a 2.5 year deal with the option of another year. Nobody goes into their last year of their managerial contract, really. It's a stupid idea unless you're like a really good club, which we're not at the moment. So basically, they've got to decide to give him a new contract when he's only got 1 year left, which is actually the summer after next. So he's got 18 months for you to decide whether he's the guy or not and give him a new contract. So, and of course, this season's a bit of a write-off for me. He's not coming in till the end of November. Then, first few games, it's the January transfer window. Will he have time to even do anything in the January transfer window? I think that's in jeopardy now. The later he comes in, the less time he's got to look at the January transfer window. Then, you go into January, it's May before you know it, then it's the summer transfer window. So I think this season's going to be very hard for him to pull anything off. I still think the Europa League will be the priority. I think United are going to prioritise the Europa League. Akil says, if he signed a deal, then he's United's manager, right? Yeah, but there's clearly a clause that he can't join for 2 weeks. Imagine the reaction if we beat Chelsea and Man City, beat Sporting next week. Hopefully fans will stay sensible, says YT. I think they agreed to wait a couple of weeks so Sporting can sort out another manager out of respect. I've done that one from JR. Done that one as well. Some specific people say the shackles are off, yet they also want a system or style of play. Isn't the premise of having a style of play to play in a specific style, i.e. being shackled, says Poir. I don't really want to talk about last night massively, but my honest assessment on last night, because Ruud van Nistelrooy literally said it, is that he basically told the players to go out there and give the fans a show. And he only had one training session. So people who think that was some sort of tactical masterclass last night are just clueless. It was shackles off. They're right. It was literally go out there and express yourselves. And you saw that. And they won 5-2. I mean, we still conceded 2 goals, didn't we? And at one point, Leicester had the same amount of shots as us. So I think it was just go out there and express yourself. That's not going to work. I'm sorry. That if he does that against Chelsea, we'll be very lucky not to get beat. You can do that, like, it's the perfect game to do it. Straight after the manager's been sacked, at home, against Leicester reserves, go out there and express yourselves. And they did. And they played very, very well. But anybody who thinks that let's do that every week, why are we going for Amorim then? Why have Man City got Pep? If we're just going to play vibes football and win the Premier League, I can do that. You can do it next week. Just go out there and express yourself, lads. It was a very basic setup, and it was very much about go out there and express yourself and feed yourself off the crowd, and it was really, really good. But there has to be tactics. There has to be tactics. Of course there does. Last night was nothing to do with Ruud's tactics. I'm really starting to despise a lot of these players, barring the newbies and the young lads, says Obi Morgan. Well, look, I think one player, Paul says it worked. You didn't listen, did you, Paul? One player that, for me, really epitomises last night is not Marcus Rashford, actually. It's not Bruno Fernandes. It's not Dalot. It's Casemiro. Casemiro last night, I couldn't get my head on it. I was like, man of the match, super performance. Everyone's singing his name and giving him deserved praise. And then I'm like, okay, so you are a multiple Champions League winner on £350,000 a week. You're in your early 30s. You're full of experience, talent, the lot. You put in a performance like that, and we're meant to believe that the reason you've been making mistakes for the last 6 months is because the manager told you to. I'm like, he is exactly what I was talking about when I said, I know we'll batter Leicester. Because certain players that have just not been playing well will suddenly act like the reason they weren't playing well was because of the manager. It wasn't Erik ten Hag who told Casemiro not to get out against Arsenal at home last year and just jog out. It wasn't Erik ten Hag who told Casemiro to run into the midfield when he was centre-back against Crystal Palace last year and leave a big hole. It wasn't Erik ten Hag against Burnley when we're about to win the game in the last few minutes who told Casemiro to do a stupid header back to Onana. It wasn't Ten Hag who told Casemiro to, get caught in possession twice against Liverpool, was it? And that, I think Casemiro represents what the big problem is at Man United, is this ability for some players to switch off and switch on. And again, I don't care whether you agree with me or not. It's a very positive time around Man United. Amorim's coming in, Ruud did well, we played well. Hopefully the players will keep playing well. My point is how long until the switch goes off? Because this has been happening for a decade. Some of us know that was going to happen last night because we've seen it happen before. Literally, for Jose Mourinho, the worst performances I've seen in a long time become an amazing Premier League break. I mean, how under the best manager in the world do you go from being total shit to breaking the Premier League winning record? And that we've seen that before. So I just I think trust is the thing. I just don't trust these players. Some of these players, not all of them, of course, but stay here long enough, you'll become infected with that bug. And I just find it amazing that Casemiro can put in a performance like that last night, and then for the last 6 months, it's been predominantly almost sabotage football. I mean, he got dropped from the FA Cup final for Amrabat, who's not even here. So that's the challenge that Amorim's got, is like, yeah, we've got some fantastic... It's that old saying, isn't it? On our day, we can beat anybody. Because when they turn the switch on, that team can beat anybody. We saw it in the FA Cup final. But they don't always want to turn the switch on. And how do you solve that problem? I don't know. It's baffling. Why can't Casemiro play like last night every week? What is it? Oh, I don't like the manager, so I don't try. Let's blame Ten Hag. Let's blame Mourinho. I didn't like the manager. I didn't like the way he played me. Well, so you didn't try then? Because it's not about tactics. It's about mistakes. It's about lack of concentration. It's about bad passing. It's about reckless tackling, lack of application, which we've got to find a way for that to never happen. Otherwise, Amorim will never be successful. If Ruud can contribute positively, then I've no issue with him staying, says Luca. He could do Benny's job and build relationships with Amorim. I think if Ruud van Nistelrooy is going to stay, Luke, it's going to have to be as the striker coach, isn't it? And maybe there is an opportunity for him to do that, to be fair. I certainly don't think he'll be assistant manager. He'll have to take a reduction in the role. We should avoid keeping Ruud. I can see a scenario where a Portuguese manager gets sacked after a Dutch one, then an interim United legend steps in, setting the club back further. I mean, Abhijit makes a good point. I've not thought about that. If you do keep Van Nistelrooy and it doesn't go well with Amorim, is he waiting in the background again? And remember what he... I mean, that's very true. Carrick left after his interim period, which was only a game. is keeping Van Nistelrooy dangerous to Amorim? Because if the press don't like Amorim, they love Ruud. Oh, they start this bullshit up again. I don't understand the issue, says Ben. No interim like Ollie and Ralph for the rest of the season. Best in class done within 2 weeks. Big improvement. Hi, Mark. Hope you're feeling better, says Harris. Thank you very much. When Amorim comes in, what type of players do you expect him to use and buy in the future? I guess we'll just have to wait and see, mate. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what money's going to be available. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. I mean, I think it's hard to learn anything from last night as well. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are, but there was a large clamour last night. Oh, Rashford didn't do that well. I thought he was okay. And then Ahmad came on and he just suits that position better. Garnacho did well as well. I personally, just on that, I think you stick with Ugarte and Casemiro for the short term. You're obviously going to pick Bruno. I think we're better with Rasmus up front. I think he was rotated out for fitness, wasn't he, last night? I think Mazraoui was rested as well. I would go with... I was very pleased Mazraoui came on last night, actually, because when he went off against West Ham, that was sort of lost. I thought that might be another injury. But I think Ahmad should play off the right and Garnacho and Rashford should be rotating off the left. I don't like this let's pick Rashford and Garnacho thing and put one of them out of position. Put Ahmad on the right and let Garnacho and Rashford rotate. We don't want to be Player FC anymore. We don't want to be Favourites FC anymore. Yes, Garnacho and Rashford have got a higher brand status than Ahmad or wage than Ahmad, but it's about balance. It's about what's best for the team. Garnacho and Rashford should be rotating off the left and Ahmad should start on the right. Simple. Foreigners need a work permit, says Manu. I don't know whether that's a political statement or what, but thank you very much for that. Now we've seen them do it. No excuses, says Darren. Mate, I agree with you, but I don't agree with you because I've seen Man United do it loads of times and then they don't do it. So I wouldn't be labouring under some misapprehension that we've seen them do it last night, so they're going to do it for the next 5 months. They won't do it for the next 5 months. I guarantee you, at some point in the next 6 weeks, we're going to see bad performances again. They're just not capable of doing it game in, game out. And I don't know how you change that. But maybe Ruud can do it on Sunday. Maybe Amorim can do it in the future. Ram says, as much as I'd love Ruud to stay, being a former manager, don't you think it would be too many Chiefs kind of situation? Well, I don't see Ruud staying as assistant coach, so it's a demotion anyway. I think he could stay as the striking coach, but that's not an assistant coach, is it? And he used to manage PSV and he was offered the Burnley job. So is he happy to stay at Man United as a striker coach? Because he won't be an assistant coach. Why would you give him assistant coach when you never worked with him? So be interesting. Missed my super chat from the start, you legend, says Dimar. I'll go back, don't worry. Could Casemiro's performance have something to do with Ugarte playing with him and doing a good job defending, says Key 2. No, I think it's to do with Casemiro being happier that Ten Hag's been sacked, playing with more freedom and happiness, because the mistakes that Casemiro was making before were not tactical. Like I said, misplaced passes, getting caught in possession, lazy attitude and getting out from the back and stuff. So I just think he's in a happier place. It's the manager bounce, isn't it? That's what it is. We know it was going to happen. Kai says, we have the 8th best squad in the league, but fans expect a top 6 finish. What is our realistic expectation? Well, I disagree with you, Kai. I don't think we've got the 8th best squad in the league. I think we've got easily in the top 6. It's just consistency that's the problem. I was a little bit angry last night, says Ryan. We all know they can play like that, but let's do the usual and throw the manager under the bus. Happy but angry, says Ryan. Nick P says, the propaganda BBC at it again. I would have preferred it if Ruud had got the job. He has all the history with the club, says Rochelle from nearby Wythenshawe. Pratt. If you want Ruud van Nistelrooy to be Man United manager, you're a prat. I'm sorry. Well, I'm not sorry. I'm allowed an opinion. If you want Ruud van Nistelrooy to be Man United manager, you're a prat. You haven't got a bloody clue, in my opinion. And you can deflect that back at me as well, because we're all entitled to our opinion. Just absolutely laughable. But this is why I'm so glad Amorim's been lined up, because we don't have to put up with the scaremongering of they might actually do it. Harris, thank you very much. I think it would be 18 months, then activate the year, which puts him back to 2 years. If year 2 goes well, they can extend again, says Glenn C. Thank you very much for that. Dawell says, they've probably noticed how managers tend to get stuck in their own ways over time as United, so the first contract being shorter could make sense. Andy Mack says 2.5 years is perfect. He has to prove he is the man for the job. And Average Chef says, I'm still concerned about the players' toxicity elements. Unless this changes, no amount of new manager bounce will help. This needs changing first. I'll tell you what I find interesting as well, is if Amorim comes in and does what most of us would do, there will be a lot of toxicity. How do you deal with that? Like, for example, you've got to remove the toxicity. You've got to get it out of the club. The reality is now we are a serious football club. Don't worry about pity decisions anymore. Important. Ineos does know these players are now, says Akil. Keep up the good work, says Hi Solid. Fairway 5, I think we've done that one from as well there. Only Michael says, I'm happy with last night's win, but I'm disappointed in certain players who had below par performances in past games and suddenly had the best game of their lives. If you can't call that out, you're a liar. Absolutely spot on. I couldn't have put it better myself. Very happy with what happened last night. Very happy with the result. Very happy for Ruud. Very happy with Amorim coming in. But not going to lie, I do feel the same as Michael. Some certain players last night were playing the game of their lives and they haven't done it for the last 8 months. And that is a bit disappointing because obviously, some people will want to pin it on the manager, but anybody who's played or watched the game for a long period of time knows full well that that is not on the manager. Not playing well for 8 months is not on the manager. That's on the individual. You can always put a shift in. You can always hit the target. You can always make your passes. Obviously, the style of football last night was completely different to Ten Hag, and it was nice to watch. But individual performances, some of them were a bit unpalatable last night as to why they've not been able to do that. Having said that, in defence of them, it was Leicester reserves. Can they do that against Chelsea? Because that's the real quiz. Do you think those players can do that against Chelsea on Sunday? Because we might go back to the normal Man United on Sunday. We'll have to wait and see. A few more comments to come in for you as well. Okay, Bruno stat padding again. Apparently he's got his 150th and 151st goal involvements for Man United. Well done. Still been below average for 8 months. Marcus Rashford is 27 today, by the way. He's posted something on his, some Instagram thing about him having a haircut. Obviously, he never posted anything about Ten Hag, so I think we can take it to the bank that he wasn't a fan of Ten Hag, even though Ten Hag was a big fan of his. I'm just reading some news out here, by the way. Sky is saying that it should be officially announced today about Amorim. Yeah, we'll wait on that. Hans Clay Jr., former footballer, player with Eric Ten Hag, on how Ten Hag feels about being sacked. I understand that he's getting 17 million and people say he will go somersaulting through Manchester. No, he is completely devastated. He is completely ruined. Well, to be honest, how are we supposed to feel about that? He's not the first guy in the world to get sacked. It's football. We've moved on. He needs to move on. 17 million, I'm sorry, it's not a bad way to move on. People get sacked. They do. Underperformers get sacked. It's what happens. Like, there's a lot of United fans that didn't want to see another manager get sacked, but I don't think there's many Man United fans sat here going, Ineos made a mistake. As I said on Sunday night, enough was enough. Something had to change, and they weren't going to start sacking players, so the obvious choice is that they were going to sack the manager. Obviously, it's you're going to be massively disappointed if you're Ten Hag. That's professional pride, isn't it? But 17 million ain't bad, and you're not the first guy to get sacked. David Moyes dealt with it. Van Gaal dealt with it. Mourinho dealt with it. Rangnick's dealt with it. I'm sure he'll deal with it as well. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, Eric. The way to bounce back is to go and get yourself a job and prove that you're a good coach. Yeah, 27 Rashford now. I mean, it's not that old. It's not that old. I just, I don't know. I don't know. I don't like talking about Rashford because it just becomes such a divisive, babyish, player FC toxic conversation. And you can't have a good conversation about Rashford. It's a shame. But I think that on his 27th birthday, I think it's a shame that he's lost 2 years. Because at 25, that first year for Ten Hag 2 years ago, when he turned 25, you were like, you're just about going into your prime years. You've had an amazing start with Ten Hag. I think I said he could have won the Ballon d'Or. I did. But 2 years later, I feel he's lost 2 years. I don't think anything's really good as compared to where he was at 25. So he's probably got 2 years left of his prime years, because I think when you hit 29, the sort of player he is, pace will deteriorate, mobility will deteriorate, and he's very big on that. So I think he's got 2 big years now to, really try and establish the player he was before. Hopefully Amorim can do that. But at the moment, as much as Garnacho can be quite frustrating to some fans, and I do see that, he can be, the amount of shots he has to goals is not good. It could be more creative. But Garnacho's 20. He's 20 and he's had a very good start to the season statistically. And look, I'm not big on stats because we've just spoken about Bruno there. Bruno's stats. We know Bruno's not played well for 8 months, really. I mean, last night was good, to be fair. But the thing about Garnacho is he makes things happen, and he's 20, and you just get the feeling he's going to keep making things happen. He's going to get better and better and better. Rashford's problem is he's not a right winger. He's a left winger, and he's up against a left winger that's getting better and better and better. Whereas he at 27 has only got a limited time before he starts to get worse, just naturally through age. So he needs to kick on, because I don't know what that conversation is anymore between Garnacho and Rashford. I mean, maybe he'll play on the right. I don't agree with that, but maybe he will play on the right. But if he's going to play on the left, that Garnacho-Rashford conversation is drifting further away from Rashford towards Garnacho. Having said that, the formation change might not... We might not have a left winger anymore in a 3-4-3 in the way that we think we should. Harvey Specter says strikers are struggling for goals. 4 goals came from the midfield yesterday. I don't know. I mean, well, I will say, well, look, Rasmus didn't play, and across the whole 90 minutes when Rasmus came on and Xerxes was on the pitch, I don't remember a hatful of chances for the striker again. I know we scored 5 goals, but look at the goals. One was a free kick. You got the Casemiro worldie. Until we start creating chances for our striker, I really think we're going to struggle to start pinning the blame on them, if you know what I mean. I still think people think, we need a world-class striker, Mark. We need a world-class striker, Mark. And I'm like, we don't need a world-class striker because we don't create chances for our striker. And until we do that, I think that's problematic. Do you think Ineos bought Ugarte with the view of Amorim eventually becoming manager? No, Gary, I don't, because I think it's... I don't agree with that, Gary, because if we beat West Ham at the weekend, Ten Hag would still be here, and we would have beat Leicester last night. And then if he'd beat Chelsea, he'd still be here, and then he'd be here for Ipswich. And if he beat them, he'd still be here. So you're kicking the ball a long way down the line to buy Ugarte just for Amorim. I get why people think it, but logically it doesn't make any sense, because if Ten Hag had kept winning, he would have stayed in the job and Ugarte would have stayed on the bench. So I don't think they bought Ugarte for 60 million thinking at some point in the next year or two we might get Amorim. And also, if Ten Hag had survived the season, Amorim would have gone to Man City. I mean, I find it laughable. I understand what Man City are doing, but there's no way they didn't want him. Sanil says the players were fed up with Ten Hag's tactics and the fatigue showed on the pitch, which is what the bounce is all about. Hope Amorim will sustain it. So Sanil thinks that Man United players were playing badly because of Ten Hag's tactics and fatigue. He got sacked on Monday, and even though they played on Sunday, they suddenly found a load of energy for last night. And yeah, you've never played football, have you, Sanil, or anything like that? I mean, it's just it's a manager bounce, mate. If you don't know what a manager bounce is, go and do your research. It happens all the time. Manager gets sacked, players don't want the blame, so they go up a level. It happens all the time. Agree with everything you said, but disagree your opinion about Casemiro. I think he played better simply because Leicester is so bad, says Harvey. Well, hopefully not. Hopefully he'll play well on Sunday. Alexander says, the players pissed me off last night. The only positive at the moment is that Amorim is a permanent. He should do what Ten Hag didn't do and gather info from previous managers, i.e. Ten Hag and Ollie. I think that's a great point from Alexander. The fact that Ten Hag only had a phone call with Rangnick was disgusting. There's no way Mourinho spoke to Van Gaal. There's no way Ollie spoke to Mourinho. And I think Rangnick had a chat with Ollie. Like, it amazes me that there probably won't be a conversation between Ten Hag and Amorim. So the new manager always comes in having no fucking clue what the problems are. Great point, Alexander. Super point. I probably would not have said that this time. Sean Turner says, every other big team rested players last night. Do you think Ruud was right last night going that strong? I know why he did it for his own personal record. Bigger picture was the wrong side to pick. Good point by Sean. I think I completely agree with Ruud van Nistelrooy. I would have picked the strongest team I could because I'm putting myself in the shop window and I might think that's my only game. He's got no reason not to pick the strong team. If I was in charge for Man United last night, I wouldn't be thinking about, let's rest some players for Chelsea that I might not be here for. I would go strong. So, but you're right, loads of teams went weak last night. And what did we end up with? A game against Spurs where we'll probably lose in the quarterfinals because it's at Spurs. So, yeah, you could argue that we're trying to win that tournament, but I don't think we are trying to win the Carabao Cup this year. I mean, I don't even think winning the Carabao Cup this year moves the needle massively. Like, what does the Carabao Cup do? Do you qualify for the Conference League for that these days? So, yeah, it's nice to win a trophy, but I just think Ruud did what I would do, which is pick a strong team because you might be only managing your only game. Only Michael says, I'm happy with last night's win, but I'm disappointed in certain players who had Billy. I've done that one as well. Thank you very much for that. Right, I'm just going to have another scoot around here and see what's going on in news. We are expecting Manchester United to announce it today, by the way. Interestingly, the Mail... Now, I have to be very careful here because certain weirdos clip me up on little bits and take the context out of it. So I'm probably going to get clipped here because people take things out of context. So I've got to be very, very careful. But the Mail are saying this morning that West Ham didn't take Amorim as their manager because they were worried about his lack of experience. It wasn't a financial decision. I don't care. I don't care whether they couldn't afford him or it was inexperience. And I don't really understand why any Man United fan cares. It's like, you know, when you get married, you don't want to hear that the person you're marrying might have had a girlfriend or a boyfriend in their past. No, they didn't. They were just friends. Why does it matter? What does it matter about? I really don't care. Whether West Ham rejected him or couldn't afford him, whether Man City wanted him or they didn't. Right here, right now, who do you want to be the Man United manager? For me, it's Amorim. And the funny thing is, so many people were saying Amorim's not Man United's target, weren't they? All the in-the-knows who know nothing. But I didn't really talk about Amorim because I didn't genuinely think it was possible. I was talking about Nagelsmann, who also I didn't think was possible, but you never know. I'm very happy with Amorim. And whether West Ham wanted him or not, it's not like Lopetegu's a good choice. I think he's very lucky to still be in a job because of Michael Oliver and our missed chances on Sunday. Otherwise, he'd be sacked. So I don't think they made the right choice with Lopetegui, and I don't really care. I don't care what West Ham did about Amorim, and I don't care about Man City. Is Amorim the right guy for Man United? I don't know whether he's going to be the right guy, but I'm very happy with the choice. So it was tactics. Casemiro's never played in a pivot, says Class of 92. Another good manager with a poorly club equals to what, says Jabbo. McSauce thriving outside toxic. Oh, God. Harvey. You know the McTominay stuff. I think if you miss McTominay, you want Ruud as manager. I think that's the sort of mindset we're dealing with here. I saw a clip yesterday of Scott McTominay slowed down, right? And they're trying to make out he's Maradona. He does a little bit of good bit of skill, runs down the wing, luckily gets the ball through one of these AC Milan players' legs, and then it cuts off. It's literally about a 4-second clip, but they've slowed it down to not slow play, like it's 20 seconds. And he's like this. Actually, it might be real time because that's how slow the Italian league is. I mean, for God's sake, I mean, we got £25 million for a player who really isn't worth anything more than that. And it allowed us to get Agate. What part of these morons are regretting that deal? So you're telling me you'd rather we kept McTominay and didn't get Agate now? Jog on. Go and support Napoli. The league is slow, and he needed to go. And we got good money. I think it's a brilliant deal by Ineos. I'm like, this is a great deal. I wish him all the best, but it's a great deal. I do not want... You know what these people sound like? Hypocrites. Oh, we should never have let McSauce go. Who didn't want McSauce to go? Ten Hag. So you're Ten Hag out, but you want McSauce to stay. They don't even understand. It was Ineos who wanted McTominay to go so they could get Agate. It was Ten Hag who wanted McTominay to stay. So you're Ten Hag out, but you want McTominay back. Their fantasy runs away with them. I think they think Ten Hag sold McTominay and it's another reason to have a go at him and we never should have sold him. No. Ten Hag wanted McTominay to stay. Ineos wanted to sell him. So I don't get this. I've said it before. Man City sold Cole Palmer. Do they regret it? Probably not. We sold Scott McTominay and some of our fans regret it. I mean, the levels are incredible. We need to sell players. We need to sell players. Chelsea do it. Man City do it. We need to start selling more players. We need clubs around Europe and the Premier League to want our players. As long as we don't sell the elite players, it doesn't matter. But selling players and them going off and doing well does us good. Because people will see Scott McTominay's gone to Napoli and done well, and they'll go, oh, have they got another midfielder that we can buy? This is all good. So I do not want Scott McTominay back. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Okay. Right. Damar says the AC Milan player was Musa. I know it was. That's why I didn't say it. If you know, you know. Can we call out Delo for always out of position and causing big holes in the midfield and defence, says Dan. And look, Delo played a lot better last night, didn't he? As they all did. Look, I think we're in a positive place. Amorim's coming in. The team played well last night. The manager bounce happened. Ruud, obviously, it's great what's happening to him. But it's all about Chelsea, isn't it? And I wish Amorim was here, but he's not. So we're going to have to wait a couple of weeks. What happens today? We've got a press conference coming in at about 4 o'clock from Ruud van Nistelrooy. We probably get an official announcement from Man United on Amorim at some point, so we might get a few quotes. It's Halloween. 8 o'clock show tonight, of course, as well. Yeah, lots going on. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. If you wanted to watch my match reaction, by the way, that is on the channel. I uploaded it this morning, having missed last night. Apologies for that. Italian league is slower, says Jamaican. Just look at Xerxes and now look at McTominay over there. Still backing Xerxes, by the way. Yeah, look, we've got to be patient. You got to be patient. I saw a lot of people getting on Xerxes back last night, but yeah, you got to be patient, haven't you? Hopefully he can come good. But one player that did look good last night was Agate. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. Make sure you subscribe, and I will speak to you in a little bit. Don't forget Manscaped, 20% off, free worldwide shipping. Trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. I'll speak to you all in a bit.